Dig the yin-yang there, Josh.
Brent, big ups.
Hello there, tribe. Good day. Well, I have all your attention. Why don't we just stretch the tradition a little bit and start 1 minute early. Welcome to the dojo today on this nice May the 8th, Thursday of the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Just keeps getting dawnier and dawnier. Very rollicking and wonderful dojos this week. That one last night is a tough act to follow. Fortunately, I was there in the thick of it, so I know what it's all about. Good day. You know the routine, everyone. This is a witness ceremony. I think after the discussion last night, it's also very importantly a practice ceremony for the principles of stalking oneself, and which something I've looked a little closer to over the last several days, and I can see it relates very much to the work that we do here and this daily witness ceremony. Wow, I can see there's lots of elders here, lots of young people. What a beautiful looking group. I like it with these, at least when we start with these smaller, more focused energy of it. It's kind of a nice stretch of dojo for me. So, you know, you're welcome at any time to start the witnessing. Put up your hand if you have, if you'd like to take the mat for a while, or just take the talking stick with something on your mind. I'm like, from after months of just like waking up in a remote outpost, I'm ready to embark on my first road trip for a long while. So I got a little bit of that on the road excitement feeling going on, that tingly feeling. There's been a lot of happenings with my ancestral field over the last several days, and I could see that this journey. That's what that's all about. To go see what I can, what I have for my next lessons probably. So, wow, that's got a nice menagerie. Oh, there's Antonio. Always good to start the day with a little bit of the gnome digested philosophy. Thanks, man. Take the floor.
So I've realized lately, as I've been watching in my Truth or Safari, that I'm more and more irritated by the victimhood in it. There's a lot of victimhood in the Truth movement, which is no surprise to anyone here, I think, but it's just irritating me more. And it reminded me out of nowhere of like a few years ago, videos made the rounds of a couple Facebook people that were talking about this weapon they had released unintentionally with like the notion of Facebook, and how the premise of it was that it hooked you by learning you and giving you dopamine hits at the intervals needed to have you be there and be involved and whatever. And it dawned on me, like, if I took that same story and made it into like a person cooking someone their perfect cake, like they know them perfectly, they know exactly how much caramel to add, they know the layer of custard to put in the middle, they know exactly how to do it, and that person gets it, and then they eat way too fucking much of it, and they feel sick the next day, or maybe they even throw up. Like, that person would never blame the cake maker, right? Like, I don't think, like, maybe in a joking way, like, oh, he made it too good. But I mean, and these guys, and like one of the guys, I was just rewatching one of the videos today, and I mean, he does authentically look guilty. Like, he feels guilty about having given something to so many people that they love so much. And I heard the reasons he was sort of giving, but I don't know. It just, that whole notion of that these people really want it and people really enjoy these things. It takes away a lot of the victimhood about some of this stuff. Even if I don't understand how it's possible that they could be that way or feel that way. So that's it.
Thanks, Antonio. It's nice that you're staying away from the details and so on. But what is could you broaden the context a little bit? What, for example, what was the subject that really brought that to your attention?
I don't know if I remember specifically what it was. I mean, a lot of stuff I listen to, there's a lot of ranting and raging about the corona lockdowns, restrictions, masks, all that stuff.
Same old.
And so just the way they talk about it, it's just so much victimhood. It's like, and there's no, I don't know, I guess I was looking for, like, how would I reach out to one of these people and point out the victimhood in a way that's not so abrasive, right? Because pointing out victimhood by default is generally abrasive. And so I guess I was just kind of imagining, like, what would be a less abrasive way to point out, like, just how much victimhood this feels like without saying that. And so I think that's what got it to mind. It wasn't any one thing. It's just more and more I'm just annoyed by it.
Yes. Okay. I understand a lot more. I know what you're talking about. It's just makes me think about, like, wow, what a turn of events that we have this where we don't have that and they. So yes, thanks. Matt, what do you have to say?
Hello. Thank you. Well, this made me think about a Netflix documentary right now where these people who were the movers and shakers of Facebook and YouTube and all of that, and they're kind of playing this part like they're almost sorry for what they created. That's kind of the slant, but what they're also talking about, and the information that's been out for years with, part of the transhumanism thing and all of that, is that they came up with Facebook to create depression and lack of, things that we need. And of course, like anything, there's positive things about it. We connect with each other and all of that, but the overall purpose with, it's like not getting enough likes and not this person not friending you and, and all of that stuff. It just, which I think relates back, if I understood correctly, to what's so great about Dojo and Dojo Earth is that, it's still going to be a little bit like a train station. Don't always know who's there. I'm one to talk, but I mean, there'll still be some of that, but it'll be getting a little bit closer to the real, actual positive purposes of these things. That's it.
Yes. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I've been peeking in on James Truth's Twitter over the last several days, and he's been, I think, if I'm reading it right, he's been hitting this topic pretty succinctly with just some little truth bombs out there that I've enjoyed a lot. I'm glad to see that you're here today, James. How are you doing, man? Take the microphone, please.
Good, Brent. I believe firmly in the tools of Facebook and Twitter. I think they're beautiful technologies because they're allowing us to connect to each other. And I think the only reason why it's popular is because of that. It's because of the intrinsic beauty of people connecting. And so ultimately the reason why the venom works is because it's what we need to survive. There's an integral essence we need there, which is connection. We connect to each other. And I think that the victimhood, there's a little bit of victimhood in the shaming of people wanting to get a lot of likes. Like I actually went through a lot of that myself of like, yeah, I'm supposed to not like that stuff. But I look at it like jousting, and I think that it makes my saber sharper, or it makes it break in the most embarrassing place it could, which is out in front of other people as I'm having a joust with someone else. And that breakage happens through the jousting of ideas, through ideas hitting each other, through the play of swords going at it. And when I see an opponent getting violent with me, all I see is that I am really doing well, that I am just really making an excellent display of my point, because I'm seeing the pressure manifest inside of this hard 200-pound shell, and that they're breaching, they're breaking. So I find the entire thing vital, healthy, important, and colossally great. And I also know that before Google came about, there were 30 search engines, and they were each very unique in the way that they were trying to search the web and document information. And that someone, I didn't know it at the time, someone purposely gave all the advantage to one of those companies, and that company was Google. And I know that the exact same thing happened to a man named John Rockefeller in the Civil War. And that the exact same person, they were in need of oil, and that they found a refiner who was nearby, who was from a very broken home, whose father was a liar and a cheat. His father raped his own housemaid in front of him, and that someone went up to him and said, "We are going to give you all of the advantage." And when I look at Mark Zuckerberg, I see the exact same thing. And that everywhere through history, you find that a hidden hand is coming in and squeezing a shitload of gravy into one bird's mouth and no one else. And it's easy for us to demonize the creation that they make when we demonize big oil, and look at what they're doing to us now. We're competing to chop down the trees fast enough so we can feel greener about our fucking solar panels, right? Like, it shows you how fucked it is, but it shows you how easy it is to work a populace. And when I get discouraged, it's always because I was putting way too many expectations on the people around me. Whether that be some moderators, whether that be the audience, whether that be who you're talking to, whether that be the American population, whether that be your coworkers, whether that be your family, right? Right? It's always the same. It's always exactly the same. You're expecting your neighbor to get it. You're expecting them to have the same reference and witness that you do, and they never do. And it's very disappointing as long as you keep those expectations out there. And you have to keep pulling them in and taking them out. Something I'm going through. something the Dojo Earth's gone through, something the Dojo's gone through, it's something my show's gone through, all that stuff. And right now, I'm thinking really hard about this exact topic, which is why I'm blabbing right now, because I've been prepping a live stream all day. I love this. I can't wait to get into it. The subject is great, but I know if I would have listened to Nicholas, who was telling me how shitty I was because I wasn't live streaming, I know if I would have bought that bait and just fucking go out there and just been like, I'm going to da-da-da-da, I just would have been booted off YouTube. It's just going to happen. I was just booted off TikTok. I had like 7 followers. Like I just got started there and I've already been booted. And I know Twitter will go, but as a writer, I just can't help it. I find release by going there and saying things. It just feels good. It's so succinct. It's such a perfect thing. There's no fluff. It's just words. And there's only so many of them. It's such a beautiful tool. Yes, it's being held in the hands of some nefarious people, but that's going to happen in every part of nature. The people who hold the gold are the ones that were desperate enough the most to lose the most to stay hold of it, right? So it's not the gold's fault. It's not. And we can blame the gold, but it doesn't really get to the matter. And by the way, I only have a point because I don't know what I'm going to do. What I want to do is develop this other platform, this game engine platform, where I can still do a live stream and feel as free as I can, and it still be productive and it still survive. But I think I'm past the point of trying to change minds because that's where my expectations are always let down. And I think it's better to just keep sharpening my own zetics, like where I am, keep experiencing what it's like to have this framework and take it out in the world and joust with others over it. Like just really exercise it, put it out on the water and see how it floats. That's such a great exercise. And just to keep doing that. And maybe our best bet, I say our best bet because this is what I always want to do with Dojo, is like, well, what do we do? Because we don't have victimhood. We ridicule our own victimhood. So we can't do that. And so I'd rather us think of something to do with that energy, something productive. I think all of us want that. And I don't know exactly the answer, but I feel like instead of changing minds, maybe the better way to do is create oases, to create these little pockets, geocaching, these little pockets of, hey, you're not crazy. Like geocaching that pollen everywhere you can and realizing it will last, it will stay there for 30 years. Someone will catch it and they will go, oh, thank God I found this. I was just about to take this vaccine, or I was just about to, who knows? I don't even know where it's going. But it's every day I think about what's the best technique, what's the best way. And I know when I come out on YouTube, I more want to come out again as showcasing something that I hope the quality is so good that people will follow me to this other platform, which is going to be much harder. And I'm under the impression that instead of me trying to get followers, instead of me trying to be popular, instead of me trying to win the debate with Owen Benjamin or go on fucking Crow 777 and hear him tell everybody how nothing in the world lies and just stupid bullshit like that, that maybe we can do something else and like create something. It's just, it makes me feel like I'm not wasting my time doing something. And that something is more like a decrypted, decentralized way of communicating. It's like it's God, the closest I could explain it right now is that in a game engine environment, typically your computer would host like 20 other computers and nothing more. And that if we had a distributed system of communicating where each of us were only responsible for hosting 19 more, that we were sort of vouching, much like Napster, but for truth, that you could vouch for, you could Paul Revere 19 people by having an app on your computer that allows those 19 people to see into this world, to make these connections with other people. And it's such a colossal puzzle right now. It's so hard. Like my brain is so fucking stressed from all this work, just trying to think this through and figure out the best way to do it. but it feels like that would be the thing that would do the most. That would be the move that we make that would do the most. I'll stop talking, but I want to say this more. I don't even mean this to sound insulting, but I'm sure it is. I'm disgusted now by so many of the truthers. It's really gross because I just feel like they're just milking. They're just milking it. They know that you're going to come and you're going to either want to escape or you're going to want to blame or you're going to want to wiggle like a bug on a fucking pin. And that's what they're going to give you every day. Here's another way that you can wiggle. Here's another way you could feel assaulted. And here's another way that you could feel trapped. And here's another way that we can convince ourselves that I think we've been duped. And it's just this so gross. I want to do something else. I think we already are. I think Dojo is that. I legit think it is. But I'd love to see if we can manifest it even more this year. Yeah, make us just feel more productive, you know? It's a great topic though. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Yes, I think that's it. And that's kind of where I'm going to is this the TEDx experience of the day. It's just so much in it. And if it's shared, you know, then it goes out for its inspection. People see it, see something in it, see nothing in it. They see laughter in it or sadness, whatever they want to see. But at least we're charting, we're marking our trail, you know. And this is wilderness we're in right now, in my opinion. Is what it seems to me, a conscious wilderness. And it's just so great for me to consider myself part of one of the advanced parties out in the exploration of it. So it's a time for less theory and more being there. Yeah, if that's how it seems. Anyway, maybe I paraphrased that in my own style. And thanks so much, James, not only reminding us, but for actually bringing us to us in the first place, man. It's just been amazing. Let's see. I think we can go to Anna next. Always lovely to hear and see you. Anna, how are you today?
Hey guys, I have my phone and my computer here so I can see all your faces. Expectations always bring disappointment because something different will always happen, I feel. It's like planning. We could plan, and then we go to do it and it never goes the way we planned. It's like planning is just like an imagination of what we would like it to be. So there is absolutely a lot of magic in expectation. Gaia, I agree. It's like our beliefs manifest and our thoughts manifest, but from my perspective and in my experience, expectations always bring disappointment, which, I mean, it's vitriol. And I feel like, instead of hoping that things, hoping everybody comes to this new platform and things like that, James, you should just have the courage that it's going to be fucking great. And that's really all I got. Just let it happen.
Thank you, Anna. Antonio, please pick up the talking stick.
Well, one quick observation is there has never been a better time to get people to actually click to the alternative site where you're streaming from YouTube. Like, it is, all of them are doing it, and all sorts of, I could name where they're all going, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just saying that people are now willing to at least click. And so I think that hurdle is solving itself in a lot of ways. And I love the idea of still being able to put out like the buoy or the fishing reel thing into the YouTube ocean, and then pull back a few here and there into the other realms, kind of thing. And I have a feeling like one thing that's been so astounding about Corona is that how fast, just the last, even before Corona, but especially the last couple of years, people are waking up in all sorts of ways. And so that seems to be very accelerated. And when I think about some of the truther communities, I forget that like I wallowed in versions of that victimhood over a long period of time in a less intense way. Like some of these people just woke up, a year and a half, 2 years ago, and they're just doing it intense. And so I guess that helps me understand how those communities can still be there. But I think, again, because of that speed or whatever the Aquarian age change factor is, I think we're going to find more and more people are reaching the point that we reached to, where that started getting stale and we wanted something else that made more sense and that had more juice to it and that was actually like practically effective. I think those people are just going to appear. I mean, we are that proof. Like already what's happened already with your stream over the last year and this and the dojo and Dojo Earth now appearing and all that is just, I mean, I already see all the steps laid beforehand. So it's not hard to see those other steps come underneath Magneto as he's walking forward, kind of thing. I still my favorite metaphor for that notion. Yeah.
Well, I think that I don't expect everyone to be this extreme, and I get that some of us are going to be a little bit more like gung ho about shit. But I think I've been lying to I think we've been lying to ourselves for a long time. I think last year when I'm prepping this for the next live stream, but there was 5 weeks when the president was in front of the nation and there was no presidential seal and he wasn't wearing a suit or tie and he was wearing a golf hat and a golf shirt. And this was right around 322. This was all during this. And if you add that with the economic reset, I think that it would be silly. I think it's silly of us to pretend that there's a thing called a country, that there's a government of the people. I legit don't think that that's true anymore. And I'll tell you that if you walk through the thought experiment, not only of how likely it is that this would happen, the poorest billionaire in America could buy both political parties over a 4-year period, not 1 year, 20 times over. That the poorest billionaire could give 1/10 of his revenue and own both parties for 4 entire years. And that there is a massive naivete that's required of us to think that the Electoral College and that our votes have really been legit for a long time. And that if you were in the business of theater, that the way that you would manifest the fantasy that this wasn't happening is through a dichotomous, hypnotic pendulum of a bipartisan approach that was just almost on the verge of fixing this, just so close. Just hold tight. We're gonna swing back, but man, when we come back, we're gonna get it this time. And this idea that every election is contested and that the popular vote was this, but the electoral was, it's so close that it's that old man with the dollar on the fishing line commercial, but like, that's literally what it is. And it's gotten so bad that the embarrassment of us having to look at ourselves is beyond affordable at this point. Our wives are watching, our kids are watching, our neighbors are watching. It's the absurdity has turned it into a spectacle, and the spectacle has turned it into a fetish. And I think that at this point, paying taxes, legitimizing the federal government, I'm not talking about local government in any way, is helping this beast. And this beast, I think, wasn't just put installed. I think this has been in place since 1945, since the first Great Seal was adopted. And that presidential seal that came off, we are always looking at an eagle that's clutching fucking arrows and peace. That they're clutching the dichotomy of, I will show you so much vengeance and anger that you will fucking lick my hand for how gentle I can be. And that the staff of Nimrod, the vibration of power, is this force of the dichotomous two-headed eagle. That the motto of order out of chaos, the symbolism of there are 13 clouds separating. The Great Seal has 13 clouds, and underneath it is darkness. And this is the Great Seal of our country. And on the back of the seal, the thing that none of you get to see, is an unfinished pyramid with a goddamn eye at the top of it. And all of us are walking around just like, yeah, what? Well, what's so weird about that? And it's just so, like, seriously, when you just really step back and look at it, you're just like, holy fuck, man. It's just this, it's so simple. And I don't think you're going to wake someone up from that. I don't. I think you're going to wait until they start to just realize they're peeing in their own pants. And that the man that shits his pants in a restaurant is not going to be getting up going, hey, everybody, I shit my pants. Like that's the last thing he's going to say, right? He's going to say anything else but that. He will spend whatever money it takes, create whatever spectacle it takes. That guy's walking fucking back asswards out of that thing, and he's convincing you that time is moving backwards because that's all he can afford. And I tell you, the experiment of Dojo Worth has shown me that even the people that hate masks cannot afford the same kind of vista that I would expect them to have. And that's my fault, not theirs. That's my misgiving. That's my, yeah. It's all over the place, but fuck, man, it's a big year. I like the idea of using technology faster. I think that the only thing that we could ever win on is by being nimble. We will never, ever, ever win by being patient or being conservative or just thinking things through. It's I like this morning I'm watching people on Twitter. Yo, I think crypto is a total scam. And it's just like, yeah, man, fucking petro fiat dollars for life, dude. It's like, you're right. You've got it all figured out while you stay in petrodollars land. And that's what you're not going to find the allies that you need right now. I don't think that that's the kind of battlefront we're on. I think this is about geocaching things for others. I think this is about creating new systems and new neural network pathways. An underground railroad of fucking sovereignty. And it's not going to be on fucking Crow 777. It's certainly not going to get any help from Owen Benjamin. This is going to be something different. It's going to have to be a different kind of a thing. It's not going to run on charisma, and it's not going to run on leadership. That's another thing. I'm so glad that the people that were like, I'm backing out because you weren't enough of a leader. I'm like, thank the fuck God. Because how the fuck am I helping the world by trying to be a new leader, right? I mean, it's so fucking retarded that people are like, you're not a good enough leader to help us win a revolution for our individuality. And I'm like, can you say that in unison? They're like, yes, we can. You're not. I'm just, yeah, right. It's ingrained in us because of the electricity that we can afford. And every one of these people will gain and completely change and surprise you, but it will only be because they stop shedding electricity. It's the only way it's going to happen. Anyway, I want to hear what everyone else has to say.
Oh, thank you, James. I don't know. I mean, I can just sit back and listen to you roll on, man. It's good stuff. Good stuff, man. Thank you. Yes, that is. I'm with you, man. I'm feeling that same thing. I look at just the image in my mind from like 60 days ago or farther was when I saw 3 or 4 different video views of 8-foot 8-foot fence with concertina wire surrounding the national capitol indefinitely with all of those camouflage weird armed cars at the so-called National Guard. Yeah, you could see what they consider the nation to be. That's where they're putting up their perimeter for guarding the nation. I mean, yeah, that was all I needed to see about that subject. Subject closed. Yeah, I knew it in my heart, and I knew it in my mind, and I just was just like, okay, that's it. There's not even, just move on, Brent, man. That's not the conscious environment we live in now. Let's go to Melanie. How you doing there, lovely one?
Hello, Brent. How are you? Oh God, don't tell me you can't hear me.
Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
All right, good. James, everything you just said, I completely agree. And I wanted just to ask you this, because I'm sure we recognize this when we were talking about waking people up, because I can hear these conversations around me. That is, and it's so simple because it is in front of us, the division. I mean, look at the division. I mean, I have never seen this in my life. I mean, it's on purpose, and no one is even talking about that. Some are, but not as much as I would think. And I don't know whether they just think that's just the way things are, but it's not. And I'm not sure how everyone else. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I don't want to interrupt.
No.
I don't even think it's division. I think it's expectations.
Okay.
And you and I have too many expectations on those people. I'd like for you to imagine. I'd like for you to imagine the kind of world where you're convinced that the problem is James True. I mean, seriously, I'd like you to look around and see the world the way it is and decide and figure out, how do I fucking put on a hat and decide that the thing that's fucked up here is James True. And I don't mean to make this about me, but I'm trying to get you to see that this is legit a view people have. That people will don this and have this view and consider that this is the problem. And I'd like you for just a second, just to put that view on and just understand, imagine how comfortable it feels. Please imagine how comfortable it feels to consider me your most vital threat on the planet. I'd like for you to consider that's a nice feeling, that I don't have gun. I don't know where you live. I don't have influence over your job. I can't make you pay taxes to me. I can't even make you take a vaccine, right? And when I tell you that anti-dojo is real, I'm telling you that because people need an electrical ramp to feel better. And that electrical ramp is going to be anything in the environment that allows someone to create a gate and either turn up the juice or dump the juice. And that is how everyone lives every single moment of life. And stop lying to yourself. Stop pretending that that's not what you do too. That you don't do the exact same thing. And when you start having that on all the time, you catch yourself earlier making expectations about people. And you can start to look at people as just electrically doing the best they can. And everyone that has decided that James True is the problem have really benefited by calling me the problem, because it allows them to ignore what's literally happening for real outside my gaze. That James True is literally a pendulum that I can put in front of them and can distract them from all the bullshit that's happening behind them, that's much more real. And that this is such a nice, peaceful distraction that it makes us feel better. And if you take that notion and multiply it by 250 million, you understand why government's most powerful weapon, the only weapon government needs, is propaganda. That government is the monopoly on your belief. That's the entire definition. And someone tried to correct me on Twitter yesterday. They go like, no, and force. And I'm like, no, you're full of shit.
No, not force.
Because the government has never once had to use force. Never once in their life had they had to come up to me and say, James, I'm gonna make you believe. It's never happened. Never. That the ones that have influenced me the most have been other believers. And I think that's why they put up all the barbed wire around DC, Brent. Because they realized there's no way that people are going to believe that this is still government in a year. That the people that don't believe, we need to be prepared for them. And I think that's why QAnon was formed. I literally think that's exactly why it was formed. It was a damper pedal on the apex of revolution. Because the spirit of don't tread on me was QAnon. That was the same force, and it was blunted. It was brought over and led to the grinder, and all of its leaders were like, yes, as they shaved that spear down into a fucking, not even a plow, into a spoon, a fucking spoon, so we could spoon fed each other all this shit. And the truthers that I've lost respect for, that's what you're watching happening now. And they are not bad. That electrically, if they had more power, they would not see this as a sinking ship and therefore change their entire perspective and do things in what you might call selfish way. And instead, they might try other things. They might actually say, the last person I'm going to say is the enemy here is James True. Why? Because he's trying. And yeah, I might find him retarded. I might hate him. I may blah, 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 but he's trying. And it's amazing how many people in the truth movement don't give me that. I'm just saying it's amazing. And it's not just me, but it just shows you, it showcases you right the fuck away. It showcases you right away.
They're not moving. That's a lot.
Who the fuck's real and who's not, right?
Right. They're not moving. That's why. I mean, that's why. They're
Who's
just staying right where they are.
Who's trying to make it comfortable? And we're all trying, I'm trying to make it comfortable. It would make me comfortable if more of you would outwardly say, I'm not paying taxes ever again because I don't want to participate in fraud. But I get it. I'm not asking any of you. And if I had a family, if anything was different, and even I'm rethinking that. So it's not even, I know that I do better by not having any expectations. I know I do better by simply just getting up and doing what I can and hoping more people show up. And it literally, it happens all the time. But what also happens all the time is that every full moon, some of those people want to go. And they don't want to be the one that gets up and says, I shit my pants. They don't want to be the one that gets up and says, James, I can't afford this, man. I have this idea. I'm going to electrically say that you are the cause of all these problems. And it's going to make me feel a whole lot better. And anyone else who's around, they're going to be able to jump on that bandwagon and feel it too. And I want you to know that you experience this too in your life. You will be the scapegoat, which is no different than the grounding rod for those things. And when you put your neck out there, you're going to be the scapegoat more. People are going to see you as a threat, and they're going to look for opportunities to electrically fucking put you down. Will fucking put you down to make themselves feel better. And that's nature. And the more of us start to realize that humans are nature, the better off we'll be, because we have this fantasy that we're not nature, which means we run in this platonic, hypothetical world of morality and everyone's good, except for those one really bad guy. That it's so, the fantasy is so intoxicating, right? Anyway.
Thanks, James. Yes, yeah. Oh man, do I have some examples like in the last 48 hours that really support and put some scaffolding under what you just said, but that's for another dojo. I'm going to pass the talking stick to Mark, if I may. How you doing, Mark?
Doing well. Thank you, Brent. Good to be here. Definitely glad to have James True back in the house. Very hard person to follow, but I'll just give my witness of, my own alchemy of all this. Again, the past year and a half following James and being a part of this community. So the topic of Facebook and dealing with other people, waking people up. The way I've come to terms with all this is, so I see James and everything that he's brought to the table and being a part of this and resonating with it is kind of a level 2 in the truther world, as he's described using the belts. First you got to realize there's something going on. You're being lied to, having some kind of semblance that JFK assassination and 9/11 and now the pandemic are not what we're being told. You need to start thinking about these things. You need to get your head out of your ass and realize that there's something deeper going on. And so, when I talk to people trying to talk in terms of James True and the dojo and all this, they have no clue what I'm talking about. Talking about electricity or your crystal ship or what he's the eye of everything with the eye of Ra and everything I've learned and just kind of just really resonated with me in my new way of thinking. So kind of got comfortable, come to terms with just not wasting my energy on Facebook and Twitter and trying to get in these arguments with these people, because it's just such a prana sucker, just and just not making much progress. It's just kind of just goes to nowhere. Like I've said before, on Facebook you try to have these well thought out arguments like, how can anybody question this, or how can anybody dispute that, how can anybody say come back at you and say, oh, that's BS, or they just don't know what to say. I never got much engagement at all on my Facebook posts, and yeah, there's a little bit of oh, I'm not getting any likes or anything, but yeah, it's okay. A couple people, and maybe just everybody just doesn't want to deal with this stuff. So I'm still struggling with, do I continue to do this, to try to wake people up, to try to point out the ridiculous things going on with the pandemic? Because when I talked to people at work before about simple stuff like JFK, they would say, well, don't you believe in the moon landing either? And so you get off on all these red herrings and things, and trying to convince them of, like what James was just saying about the presidential seal not being missing for all that time, and just this deeper level that we've all reached here, trying to realize there's something else going on besides government did 9/11. There's something else behind, the Merry Prankster concept, and just there's more to it. But getting people to that level 1, just kind of just realizing that there's something going on, I'm just struggling with, do I waste my energy on this? I mentioned before in the dojo, I'd stopped trying to talk to my family about the pandemic and don't get the vaccine. And now I'm starting to feel a little bit guilty about that I didn't try harder with my brother and just say, hey, look at this, about the mask. They said, don't wear them. And they said, wear them. And then, it just kind of keeps changing. And the vaccine's untested, just simple things like that. I'm starting to go back on and say, well, maybe I should do something. Maybe it'll reach somebody. Whereas I know it seems like the feel around here is that we're not doing that anymore. It's just kind of just, do your own thing, be an example. People will, see your stance, your posture, and they'll resonate with that more than you dropping them facts. But But, I still see, like James was just saying, he's still on Twitter. He still gets something out of that, trying to change people's minds, trying to drop something that might resonate with somebody, for maybe those few people who are just like, whether it's QAnon or, maybe Trump was full of shit and he wasn't there to help us, and all the, we're not going to be saved. We got to save ourselves. That was just a ruse, and trying to come to terms with that. I do see people recognizing that. Well, hey, this was all bullshit. I was fooled. Why didn't he stand up for the election fraud if the election was real? Why didn't he fight that harder? He said he was going to, and he didn't. I see people waking up to that, and I'm just kind of starting to wonder if I should put a little bit more energy back in that, in addition to what I'm doing. Just kind of a minimum thing. Maybe I could have reached my brother. My nephew had the vaccine. He's 19, and now he's got COVID all of a sudden after getting the shots. And I'm like, oh God, it's just like, I just talked to him on his birthday. I should have, but I didn't want to get involved. Definitely, even though he's 19, I don't want to, rock the boat with my opinions on this, since I'm this black sheep of the family and all this truther stuff that, like, I'm never going to reach my sister, but maybe I could have reached my brother's side of the family. I'm starting to just kind of sway towards that. So, yeah, I just think, people need to get to level 1 before they can understand where level 2, where James is coming at with all of this, deeper level insight to what's going on. So I'm just kind of wondering, I just don't want to write these people off who may still reach. We may be able to convince them, and that maybe I should be doing more effort, because I always resonated with the idea of, okay, well, maybe there's enough people who believe the same things. Why is there all this infighting in the truther movement? I brought this up about Alex Jones, how I know the consensus is that he's a controlled opposition, and I did get that feeling even before I found James, that he was not going to lead the people to the promised land. He had on, and it was never really about him and his personality for me. It was always about the guests. All the guests that he had, and they were all kind of going to the same conclusion. I resonated with all of them. And I know, like, even James resonates with some of these people, but he's just taking it to a deeper level. And so I just kind of wondered, just like, why can't the truther community get along? Why can't people just come under this common knowledge? We got to drop the Trump shit, drop the QAnon shit, and kind of just move forward and figure out what's going on. Wake people up. Just the non-consent. I mean, James has a lot of the best ideas, the not consenting to any of this, not paying your taxes, just not voting, just doing this stuff. Does make sense, but we got to get people to this first level 1 of understanding of what's going on, and just not going along with what you read on CNN or your media source of choice. I mean, people need to get to that point first. Anyway, I'm starting to repeat myself now. I'll stop it right there. Thank you, Brent.
Can I know there's hands up, but I just want to say that real quick. My advice is cut out the expectations. You're not here to change anyone's mind. You're here to function from a higher electricity, because you will do more good with more electricity. And the more that you wonder, if you're sitting there going, why aren't they getting along? I also like you to do the math and realize that you wondering is a loss of electricity, and that you already know the answer. That the truth of it is that all of us are getting along perfectly. That each of us are matching the prana economy that we have, that we can afford at that time. That the truthers that you see that we think are checking out, that we think are secretly working for the other side, that none of them are working for the other side. Literally every single one of them is on the same side as you are, but they only have so much electricity to spend. And they're going to check out at different times. And now, I think if you see that, and you go back to what I said earlier about Rockefeller, about Zuckerberg, about all these other people that have been helped along, that you see the exact same thing happen. That all it takes is finding someone super broken and super desperate and giving them a little bit of an edge. And that you end up with doping. You end up with bicyclers shooting themselves in the ass 200 years later for the exact same reasons, right? For the management of electricity. For how do they manage their electricity better? That's all it is. So technically, everyone is functioning perfectly. And more importantly, everyone is functioning very, very predictably, Mark. Like seriously, you could predict this if you watched enough, and you'll be able to watch more by shedding less, by understanding that this is an electrical chronic economy that they have. And that even though I think they're stabbing me in the back, just I'm talking from my own perspective, that's not it. They're like, James has good ground. Me put electric line in James' back and me feel better. And that if anything, it's like this twisted fucking compliment, right? Like seriously, it's this twisted fucking compliment is what it is. But that I have more electricity if I can see it that way, because I won't shed over why did they do this to me? I already know why, because they're electrical beings and everyone's doing the best they can, even Trump, even fucking Biden. That these people realistically want to go to bed at night feeling like they've done good and are making all their decisions hoping to make it to bed that night and feel even better than they did the day before. That ultimately that's what we all want. I'm gonna let everyone else go.
Thanks, James. Yeah, that's I think in this question, what if actually the age of Aquarius dawning? What's the valley or the summit that some of us had reached, and we saw what that was, and we're walking across that new valley, and it's too late now to recruit those people who we thought we could had enough consciousness or smarts or vision or whatever we thought that they don't have. It's going to come with us. What's wrong with saying, hey, this is working out just right? You know, we are who we are. I am who I am, and now we can work on this stalking ourselves. You know, perfecting our powers, and not for no other reason than to just like get the most out of this incredible opportunity and experiences that lay out in front of us. Anyway, Antonio, please, what do you have?
So I've mentioned I'm really into all sorts of games, and in particular video games. And so I watch that Twitch channel where people stream their games and stuff. And there's all sorts of shticks for what people use to get viewers. But I've realized that one of them is authenticity. There are some that is why people flock to them. And one of the reasons I realized that is whenever a new expansion or game comes out, suddenly they have this huge surge of people wanting to see their reaction to it. Because I mean, it's an industry full of paid promotions and obligations and signings and all this sorts of stuff. And so, you know, there's a space where you can see these gamers really value authenticity, and they'll go hear that guy's opinion, even if they don't generally watch him because they don't find him as entertaining or for whatever other reason. And when I was in Occupy, people stopped bringing me salacious stuff like, oh, this guy did that, or, you know, this guy's cheating on this person with that. Like I stopped getting any of that kind of stuff. But when really high tension meetings had to happen, I was the one they were asking to lead them. And I think that was because of that authenticity. If you want to have someone like kvetch about some person, you don't necessarily want authenticity. You want them to be like, yeah, that person sucks, fuck that person, right? You don't want someone that might be like, well, maybe, but you know, you don't want that. And I don't know what that's going to mean for what Dojo Earth is, because, you know, as brand sovereignty, it's confusing to people what that means. Authenticity and sovereignty, and our sovereignty doesn't even require like special paperwork you have to fill out in order to be sovereign, right? So it's even more confusing. But at some point, I feel like there's going to be a need for what people are going to want for a space is authenticity. They're going to want that, and that is when people are going to look to people here in various ways. I think, like I think there are times I've seen where that is what people want. I'm just not sure what that is going to be in this situation.
Thanks for that insight, Antonio. Josh, how are you today, man? Please take the floor.
Yeah, hey guys. I've been listening, so still got my witness there. Was just running around a little bit earlier. Wish I could have been chiming in before. Man, it's such good stuff going on today. A couple thoughts came to my mind, and you know, for Mark, I've said this to you before too, and it sounds like you're convincing yourself that this is the path that you probably should walk anyway. But I guess some quick witness and then a few other thoughts. You know, I was exactly where you are right now, and some days I still am, which is wanting to convince other people so you can convince yourself that you're walking the right path, right? So if I can bring a friend or two along into, oh yeah, what Josh is saying has some validity over here, I've reinforced for myself that I'm on the right path, you know? And I say this now with more realization of it, whereas in the past, I just thought I was like, oh, well, I've stumbled on all this good information. I should share it with other people. Maybe that's what I was thinking consciously, but I think subterranean was really, I need to convince other people so I can convince myself that I'm on the right track. And I see you breaking through that. So I'm not even telling you to like stop doing it, because I think we all go through these things in our own time, in our own ways, and we need to do these things for our own psyche, wellness, whatever it might be. But I hear you that you're like, you're right there, man, that you recognize that you probably don't even need to do that anymore. And you know, I just want to give you some kudos, because I see you like really advancing through this stuff way faster than I even did. So good for you, man. The other thing I want to add to the conversation is, you know, sort of this analogy of, you know, we think about truthers and waking people up and where they're at. You know, will they come join Dojo Earth or whatever? And it almost feels like we got this community of truthers. It's like this big concert, and there's all these different like sound stages that people are stopping at. And they're like, oh, the music is kind of cool over here. I'm gonna hang over here for a while. And there's a nice crowd of people, and they stay there until they're like, ah, this guy's just kind of looping the same beat. Like, all right, I think I'm gonna go check some other stuff out. And then they find the next sound stage that they're like, yeah, I like what the vibe is over here. This group is, you know, I'm feeling their flow or whatever it is, right? And then that gets a little stale because they're like, they're same thing just over and over again. I'm getting tired of that. And I feel like that's like a little bit of what's happening, which is, you know, we are fragmented from like a community because there's so many different ways that people can stumble on truth, waking up, whatever it might be, because there's so many damn lies out there in the world. So it's like natural that there would be this fracturing of all these different groups, because you could be, you know, stuck on the pedophilia stuff. You could be stuck on, you know, 9/11 and what the government does from like wars or whatever it is, or you could be, you know, stuck on Tartaria and whatever. You know, you guys know all the topics. And then the other thing that comes to mind is like, not just when things get stale for somebody to like pick up and leave, but also this idea of like electricity and energy. And we only have so much energy at any one moment, that once we get to that sound stage and we're kind of like at that next level of truth or whatever it might be, we kind of need to hang out there for a while, because we exhausted a lot of calories to like get ourselves to that point of accepting that new level of truth, of breaking down some stuff in our head that was bullshit in the past. And you know, it's like a waypoint, right? Where if I'm on a sailboat and I'm trying to go, you know, across the Pacific Ocean, I better find some freaking islands along the way, so that way I can like refuel, you know, re-energize, find some coconuts to eat or whatever. Like you need to have some stop off points to kind of like refill that tank before people can kind of continue on their journey. So, you know, to me, I think, you know, from hearing you guys talk about it, you know, we don't need to convince people necessarily. I think we just need to have badass music, and we need to have refreshments, and we need to have things that are, you know, fashionable, right, for people. So that way, as they're along their own path, you know, and sure, we can still talk to our neighbors. I'm still going to talk to my friends and, you know, wake people up, but I'm not going to like spend a tremendous amount of my energy doing it. As it comes up, sure, great, fantastic. But I think the more we can make our party awesome, the more people are going to join us. So yeah, I just wanted to toss that in there, and, you know, some of what you guys have already said, but just, yeah, good stuff today. Nice seeing you all.
Thank you, Josh. Nice seeing you too, man. As usual. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he is James D. Please take the floor, James.
Thank you, Brent. Mark, you're a victim. I don't know how that feels to you, but you are a victim, and you are imposing your victimhood on everybody else that needs to be awoken. They need to wake up. You've been deceived and they've been deceived, and now you are going to sacrifice your electricity to wake them up, because that's your responsibility to martyr yourself. I hope you're seeing what I'm saying, man. That's the whole point. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, James. Oh, go
Can I
ahead.
respond? Well, I don't have much to say. Just that I'm not sure what you're getting at. Sharing you the way I see the world. I would like to help people if I can. There's kind of this. I don't want to be a martyr for sure. If I can show somebody where they're going wrong, like if somebody's going to get injured by the vaccine, and I could just keep my posture and tell
How is
them
that wrong? How is that wrong, Mark?
How's wrong?
That's
what
wrong to you. Is that wrong to them?
If they're going to get injured by it, if they don't know that it's experimental or hasn't been proved, maybe they might come to a different conclusion about it. But I don't see how that.
But to them, that
I don't
is
see where the
good.
victim comes in.
That is for them. That is for their well-being. And through their technology of belief, you could be robbing them of something that is valuable to them by implanting this idea that they could get sick. What if they get sick because you implanted that idea? Because now they believe they're going to get sick and they wouldn't have gotten sick before. How do you know? That's actually
I understand
that's
that point.
actually that's disrespecting their sovereignty. You are not recognizing their sovereignty. You are imposing upon their sovereignty by robbing them of their choice, by implanting these little ideas in their mind. Nobody woke anybody up. They woke up on their own. They started their search on their own. And then there was people saying this and people saying that. And then, oh my goodness, they start to blossom and start to see the light on their own. Nobody is responsible for waking anybody up, in my personal opinion.
Mark, this conflict of wanting to wake people up, and feeling that responsibility and everything that you seem to find yourself in, like more than once, it's a negative feedback loop, and it's like you have a virtuous intention there, but it's just not something that's gonna like really work. And I think it's just time for you to see that and move past it. Does that make a little bit of sense?
Okay, I'll definitely think about this a little bit more. I don't really see it as being a victim, though. Maybe there's definitely some guilt involved with, like I said,
Mark,
with my brother's family.
I don't think that James is using the advanced definition of the word victim, which is not a bad word. I think what he's doing is just showcasing, hey, look, you're leaking some valuable gasoline here, and not only are you leaking it, but you're leaking it in a way that I can show you is integrally could be looked at as anti-sovereign if you step outside and look at the tank from this angle. It's a really, really brilliant surgery is what he's doing. And I really respect it. I also, though, really have to commend Mark. I have to say this because I don't know if people understand. I don't know if Mark understands how much fucking weight is on that guy's shoulders. I don't think you can see that, Mark, because of what you do for a living. I legit don't think you get how powerful you've been this entire time, because you're still you're still under that weight. And I think what James sees in you is that. I don't mean to speak for him, but I love what's happening here, and I wanted to say that. Thanks.
I agree, James. It's you are investing your prana into all of these people outside of yourself. Your electrical field is potentially dwindling because you are putting out streamers to everywhere else around you. If that makes sense, you're carrying a heavy fucking load in which I feel like you are giving of your own sovereignty at that moment. You are giving your sovereignty away. You are taking on the responsibility for everybody else to see what is true to you. I have a YouTube channel. I've had it for years. I was doing the same fucking thing. That's it.
Can I just respond real quick, Brent?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I've heard you say that before, James. You said that, I remember you said that to Sergio when he was trying to tell everyone his view of the world, and you kind of described it as you're robbing you of coming to discover things yourself by him telling you this is the way the world is. So I definitely remember that and resonated with it. And I think you're trying to tell me I'm doing the same to other people, that they need to blossom onto their own and figure things out. And I definitely have stopped doing that. That message resonated with James. And I remember when you said that, that made a lot of sense to me. I'm just, on the subject of pendulum, I feel like I'm swinging back a little bit, where some of these people, they're just looking around, they see something, and it's just like, whoa, that's not right, that's off. And so I just kind of want to keep my stance, but give them this little push or this little kick, just like, maybe that is robbing them. I don't feel like it's me being a victim. I mean, me saying I have all this on my back because of my job and family and work and things like that makes me feel like a victim than anything. I mean, I think we all have our own struggles. We're all dealing with all this stuff. I should be working right now, but this is way more interesting to me. I'll take vacation time to come here to Dojo to get this experience. But I'm just that is my struggle, though. It's just I don't want to tell people 9/11 was an inside job and just say these things, but I just kind of I think there's a way we can keep our posture, like Josh was getting at. It's just if they bring it up and you got your posture and you just give them that, they said this and now they're saying this, and just kind of give them a little tweak or something. That's the part I'm struggling with, doing something. I'm not talking about going back to the old ways where I would post shit on Facebook and expect somebody to read it and take it seriously, other than maybe a few single males with a lot of time on their hands. But I do appreciate the witness. I'm just, I guess I need to think about the victimhood thing a little bit more. That's not really resonating with me, but thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, I also really appreciate you, particularly in the context of what you've shared with me about your life, and Eric as well. The same thing. I can see that where you two and others are taking your stance is takes a lot of courage in that spot that you find yourself in. Taking such a stance, to me, I find it, I have great respect for you for doing that and coming so long on this. And yes, we have a lot to unlearn. The field thing is, if I'll take a few minutes here to go back to my many bear encounters I've had of the last month. Really, since the equinox campfire, I've had bear encounters just probably 5 out of 7 days a week, for the last 3 or 4 weeks. But now that I've walked down off the steps of the porch and get on ground level with them, now most of the time I'll have my gimbal and camera in my hand, and I'm aware of how I'm presenting myself to these creatures, and I can see my aura, which I can't really see in real life, but I can see it through their eyes, that they feel that they feel it. I can feel it in how close they'll come to me. And I can also talk to them forcefully, and they know what I'm telling them or what I'm telling them about me. The cubs, hey, you're getting too close now. That's too close. Turn around, stop right there, and back up a little bit. Mom, I get this kid under control. I'm using language like that telepathically and out loud, but I'm learning so much about, no, I don't have to teach them anything about truth or the way that Babylon was or is, and the situation with the federal management wildlife system that they have their thumbs on you guys. None of that matters at that flow state moment. And I'm thinking that these are lessons that I'm learning now, that this is not just for bears, that this is for all life encounters with all beings, even beings that I don't even know what they look like yet. But anyway, this is it's important to find that spot where you can make a stand, and it's not a question of how awake am I or could I have been or I'm not, or how many other people I've awakened. Once you get to that moment where you're staring a 500-pound bear from 18 foot and holding eye contact with her for 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and it's it's showing me that I'm learning a lot. I'm finding it that I've had so far to go most of my life. So anyway, that's what I'd like to go to. I see a hand up. Who's first? Chris? Josh, you're next, please. Go ahead. Take the floor.
Thanks, Brent. And man, that's awesome hearing you talk about the bears. Right on. I think there's so much to draw from that, and even to try and apply in our own ways, and to people too, right? Like you said, these fields, they don't just apply to animals. Animals are probably more perceptive of these fields. At least maybe, I don't even know if consciously is the right word, but whatever. They interact with them on a more minute by minute, second by second basis. We definitely are impacted by them. Most people don't even recognize that they're a thing. And then even those that recognize that they're there are often very unaware of these fields, right? So yeah, there's good stuff there. I wanted to also share for Mark, and for everyone, I guess, the idea that as you're, going about and trying to talk to someone or wake them up in that moment or whatever it might be, James D brought up a great point, right? Like you might be robbing them of their own awakening, but it's also possible that you push them further away from their own potential awakening, right? So like anything, we're judging all these different things that are coming into our system. And when you maybe encounter something that you're not quite ready for, it might take you longer to get back to that point that you're ready to hear that information if it's not presented in the right way. So like 2 of my friends come to mind that I talked to about like the earth being flat, for example. And they were like, get the fuck out of here, like whatever, and just very like, you're retarded, Josh. And I was like, maybe. And one of those guys, you know, who said, oh, I'm never going to take the vaccine, and then was like, well, maybe I'll like wait a year or two and we'll see how it all goes. Well, he's, you know, moved further towards retarded land, went ahead and got his vaccine, all this other stuff. And, you know, I don't feel like guilty about it, but you could, I guess I could, and say like, hey, did I push him further in that direction by like shocking his system with too much when he wasn't ready for it? You know, on the other hand, one of my other buddies who I talked to Flat Earth about, he doesn't believe the earth is flat, although I think he'll get there. But he's come a long way in his journey as to like his own belief and understanding of things, right? And even just this morning, he was talking to me about, you know, all this nonsense going on and the vaccine, and him and his wife definitely aren't going to do it. You know, his wife's employer is trying to like force him into taking a vaccine, basically. And you know, he's very much in the moment where he's like, oh, like all this stuff was definitely released globally to like get at Trump. And, you know, there's this nefarious, you know, global plot, you know, or whatever. And you could see kind of where he's at. I didn't even like step on that at all. I was just like, yeah, like there's some like fucked up stuff that's going on there, you know, and I was trying to reinforce to him that I was like, man, isn't it amazing that so many people that are out there can't even see that they can't even see, you know, because it would be too scary to them, too shocking to their system to go from, well, government, yeah, we know they're inept. Yeah, we don't like them. Yeah, they're inefficient, but they're not like nefarious, right? Whereas he's at the point now where he's like, yeah, I think there's some nefarious stuff going on. So I just took the tact of like not trying to shock his system anymore. And I was like, just patting him on the, yeah, man, you're doing great. Like you're doing great, you know, and just reinforcing that. And I don't know if there's a right way, wrong way, whatever you want to talk about, fine. But in my own understanding of these things, I'm like, all right, I got to be cognizant of the fact that you know, to James D's point, Mark, you have a lot of electricity. And even the fact that you can be here, talk about these topics and work where you work, dude, like that's fucking amazing. Like amazing, you know? So like you are a juggernaut. Don't forget that. And understand that because you are a juggernaut, you got a lot of electricity flowing through you and you can short some people out, right? And that's why I want to share those two examples, because like I may have shorted out one of my friends and maybe pushed him in a way a little bit further because I didn't quite recognize, you know, the power that you have. So yeah, that's all I got for you, man.
That's good stuff, Josh. You always bring it, seems. Antonio, please.
So I agree. I understand that notion James D was referring to, that bug that truthers get bitten where they have to wake people up or that kind of thing. I don't think I've ever been bitten too hard by that. But I even though I have stopped trying to have those conversations, just kind of bringing them up, I am still leaving way open that if my intuition in the middle of a conversation with my folks or my friends or whatever suddenly just is speaking, saying, hey, go there, I'll probably go there. So like to me, it's not even because maybe I want to experience that, right? It's not even necessarily about waking them up. Maybe I want to know what that conversation is like with this person. So I don't think those conversations are off limits. I just think the what you expect to get out of them, you're going to get way more value, not trying to wake someone up like that, if that's not the intention. And the other thing I was going to mention is that, and Mark, you alluded to this, sometimes it's not even that you're bringing anything up, it's just stating what your belief is enough to cause the thing to happen, sort of. And that's the experience I had with my niece, who's a SJW, had just finished her SJW major in college. And all I had to say was that I didn't believe in patriarchy theory, and she wigged out. And I know that I held my stance really, really well, because in the end, she couldn't even see me the next 2 days. She refused to be around me, that kind of thing. Like, and so that will resonate in a way with her for a long time. Like, I don't even know what that's going to be. But that is another way that I can, you know, just lay that mark just by standing there, being me, being sovereign, holding my stance, and that's it. I'm done. There's nothing else I need to do at that point. And so there's different ways, I guess, those encounters can sort of go down. That's all I was kind of pointing out.
Yeah, I like that. I like that dojo move, Antonio. Hi, Chris. How are you? Please take the floor.
Thank you. On the same line of what Antonio was just saying, sometimes I'll just make this comment in so that those situations I'll just be like, yeah, I used to think that too, and leave it. But what do you mean? It'll just let that sort of hang there, and maybe it'll prompt them to go check something out. Maybe it won't, but it doesn't really matter to me. There were two things that came to mind. I think I don't remember at this point what exactly sparked them, but I feel like you can apply them on your own. If I pick up a weight and carry it for someone else, they are not made stronger by that. And I think that was relating to what Josh was saying about pushing too far. It's not the same idea, but on those lines. And the other thing was there are economic ways to do things, and there are expensive ways to do things, and neither one of them are wrong. That's all I wanted to share.
Thank you, Chris. Good share. James True.
That's a really good point, Chris. Sometimes it makes us feel really good to burn all of our electricity out in one moment over one thing for a while. And guess what? We recover. So it's no problem at all. Real quick, Mark, really good touche on me pointing out the victimhood of your job. It is true though, dude. I know you'll see it when you're away from that job. You'll see it. You'll be like, holy fuck, man. I know. And I know that's fucked up of me to say that you don't see it until there, but I'm telling you, dude, so much mad respect for the electricity that you have to garnish just to do that. Here's my point though. I think that the more that you stay in ideas, the more you're going to lose every single time. And that the idea is just how we honor each other, pretending to be intellectual. And that even Antonio, when I'm hearing him kind of strategically plot out his reactions, and then him saying, actually, I don't know what I would do. It's, I know me. I have no idea what I will do. I know that if I have as much electricity as I can when it happens, that things will work out so much better for everyone. And that's really the truth of it. And that I can't really control anything else but that. That's why I can't say, yeah, I'll just do a live stream and not say anything controversial. I don't have that skill because I'm not procedurally trained to react in a very specific way, regardless of what happens. And that's literally what a procedure is to react in a very strategic, systematic way, regardless of the circumstances that are happening outside of you. All this to say, people are constantly shopping your posture, not your ideas, your posture. They're looking at how comfortable your motor is running in the middle of this field, right? In this harbor, and whatever analogy you want. How is this person holding their energy? How is their motor? Is it working its ass off at the red light, or is it nice and calm? People want to be around calm motors. They want to have a calm motor. We are resonant economies. We will resonate off each other. I'm telling you, what if you found out after all this world was over that none of the words that you think mean what they mean actually mean what they mean? That all we're doing when we're talking is secretly saying, hey man, I got 3,000 RPMs, it's running about 3,000 RPMs. Hey man, I got 3,000 RPMs, running about 3,000 RPMs. And that you hanging out next to me, you're gonna feel better because I'm providing you an RPM that feels good, resonates with you. And that you were going to look for intellectual excuses to explain why you made the strategic, rational decision to adopt this new policy, and none of it has anything to fucking do with anything. You just made all that shit up. You made all that shit up because you have all these systems, these neurological systems that are competing for your calories, and they're doing that by lying to you by how vital they are. I'm the pancreas, man. You cannot fucking abandon this. If we don't get insulin here right the fuck now, there's going to be trouble. And that pancreas is going to fucking scream. It doesn't give a shit what your liver thinks, what your kidney thinks. It's not capable of functioning in that way. And that what we think we're doing is making rational decisions. And really what we're doing is what we should be doing, is making posture decisions. How can I take a stance in life where I will be the most comfortable and be able to survive through the next day? And that is why truth is a comfort movement. And that's why I've forgiven people. I used to scream about, oh, you fucking comfort movement. No, everyone's right. Everyone's trying to survive. Everyone's trying to be comfortable. And if you want to convince somebody, show up with a purr. Show up with a fucking motor that's just like, yeah, what the fuck you got under that hood, baby? Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter anything. It's all that matters is that fucking motor, man. And that's how you win minds and hearts. That's how you win women. That's how you win sales. I think it was Josh that told me this. But like when you go into sale, you don't start by saying something. Like by saying something first. I think this is how it goes, Josh. By saying something first, you are changing the tension in the room and you're establishing a pace with someone that you obligatedly owed them something. And if you do not give them that, you change the dynamic of power and you change the entire situation. And you're watching two motors now going, they're literally fucking revving each other next to the light. Go, well, I got this over here and I got this over here. And the bitches are going to pick the best motor, y'all. Right? Everyone's going to pick whichever feels better, that posture that feels better. Josh, if you want to correct me on that, please do. But I want to say that I now think that the reason why half the world runs on sales is because energetically we are here to learn this lesson, and sales is the fucking perfect medium for this kind of shit. Like it's profound, right? The whole intimidation thing, all the science of it. Anyway, it's 2:00. I'll shut up. But Josh, if you got something.
I'll just add real quick, and then I'll pass it back to Brent, that you're spot on, right? The notion of when you walk into a sales meeting, kind of two things that I've learned and been taught by many, very good sales organizations. Number one, you never sit across from the other person. You always align yourself with them. So you sit on the same side or adjacent to them. And then number two, sort of that notion that he who talks first loses. So it is this pissing contest that you're, again, setting that pace, setting the dominant structure. And if you can sit there in that awkward moment longer than they can, you're showing them energetically that you have the power in this meeting. So yeah, that's it.
Thanks, James and Josh, for taking us through that system again. Good to know. I want to thank everyone for spending the time with us here today. I've really learned a lot myself. First, there's some of us I think that will be attending a meeting next. I'm assuming I have that address back in my inbox, so I'll say bid my adieu to all of you right now, and thanks again. Looking forward to the next dojo tomorrow evening. And you guys have a wonderful day in Aquarius today in the meantime. Thanks.
Thank you.
Unmute yourself.
Have a
Thanks,
great day.
everyone. Thanks, Brent.
Bye. Have a good day.
Well,
Take it easy, tribe.
Hi, guys.
I am that I am.
Gee,
Love you guys.
And do it maybe.
fuck yeah, dude.